you got to pick the person that's compatible with you like that, because it's made everything so much easier.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
What I've learned about that is that when we make these promises to ourselves and we don't keep them, that takes our confidence away from us. Your heart is like my heart, and our minds are, in similar places, and so we have a mutual respect and adoration for each other. Hey everybody, it's Red Taylor, and I've got a big favor to ask of you. Help us to try to grow this show. If you would go down and like and subscribe, and also please turn on notifications. That way you're notified as soon as new content drops. Also, please share the show with someone that you know. That would mean the absolute world to me, and you never know, it could mean the world to helping them as well. So thanks a million. Enjoy the show. Hey everybody, this is Red Taylor with the Red Hot Read Show, and man, do I have a treat for you today with my guest. My friend here, everybody has that family that they look to that seem to have it all together, right? And you look at them and you're like, man, I wish that my family was like that. And, that they seem to be really happy and healthy, and they have joy and fulfillment, and they like each other. And, oh, by the way, they're kind of really pretty people too. And so this guy epitomizes that on the look side of it, but in real life, that's who he is as well. And he's a Tennessee born and raised. He went to McCallie Day School, which is a pretty high level achievement. He backed that up by going to Vanderbilt and graduating with a go Doors, right? With a degree in economics and a minor in business admin. And from there, he entered the professional world, where his accomplishments in the companies that he worked for read like a who's who of the Fortune 500, from Accenture to Kimberly-Clark, Shell, Amoco, Halliburton. We've got some stories about that. Home Depot, General Electric, and now he heads up for the last 7 years a division down at the Georgia World Conference Center. And the authority there, which not many people know, which they are over the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Georgia World Congress Center, Centennial Olympic Park, the brand new 1,000-room Signia Hotel by Hilton, and the College Football Hall of Fame. He oversees innovation, IT, process-based improvements, customer experience automation, force multipliers, technology, security, financials, strategic planning, and business insights. Through all of this, he also has enterprise in real estate, where he has properties in the North Florida Panhandle, and he's developing property there. He has properties in the North Georgia mountains as well, and he's an avid outdoorsman. I don't know how he finds time to go to the Georgia mountains, to ride on his mountain bike, to chase bears, to camp out, to go to the beach, all with his family. And someone that I have admired for a very, very long time. I call him the mountain man, because he's always outside in the mountains. He's almost like a bear whisperer. And I'll just introduce you today to my friend, Mark Koeninger.
Hey man, good. Thank you for that. It's funny you mentioned the mountains. I get up there, and whenever I post something about the mountains, I know Red is going to come in and say, usually you just say mountain man, and I always love that. I'm going up there here in the next, I don't know when it's going to be, sometime in the next 3 weeks, whenever all these cicadas come out. I'm going up again, because I did it a couple years ago and filmed or videoed and got the noise. It was crazy.
That's the crickets, right?
The bloom they had 2 years ago was good, but this is the mega one coming. So
really?
I'm up there again just to see. I guess it's not going to happen for 211 more years.
You and 12 other people on the planet know this, by the way.
Oh no, I've given it to my wife's high school as a math problem. There's the prime numbers of 13 and 17 are when these cicadas come out.
Okay.
One kind comes out every 13 years. One kind comes out every 17 years. There's a math problem that says if you put all those in a row, once every 211 years, they're going to come out on the same day.
That's crazy.
And then you got double cicadas, and I'm going to be there for it.
So it's going to be like an absolute world-class symphony of cicada.
I heard the decibels. My Apple Watch goes off every once in a while. I might be running a leaf blower or something.
Yeah.
And it'll say, you exceeded the dB rating for 20 minutes. You're going to hurt your ears. Supposedly these cicadas are going to be at the ear hurting level.
Wow. So what are you going to do? You going to video, or you going
I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna go up there and do what I always do: look for bears and and listen to them. I might shoot some guns and hike and just work on the property a little bit.
Yeah. Be a real American. Be a man.
Yeah.
Get in touch with nature.
That's what I'm always doing up there. I'm working. I'm the head of the trails committee for our little neighborhood up there. I'm the architecture review board, so I'm up there checking to make sure nobody's chopping down indigenous trees on their properties.
Love it.
Keeping it all. I'm always trying to keep the values up there.
Love it. That sounds fun. So tell me this. So you graduated from Vanderbilt, econ, with a minor in business administration. Not a small feat. Everybody knows that Vanderbilt is referred to as the Harvard of the South. Tell me, how has that made an impact in your professional life? Because, as we said, just a highlight of your resume is extremely impressive. So how did Vandy, and going to Vandy and doing all that hard work at a young age, play into where you are today?
Well, it certainly did, because what ended up happening is when I took my job with Anderson Consulting, which is now Accenture, I was about the only person that didn't have a computer engineering MIS degree. We had one guy with an English degree. I don't know how he got in there, but he didn't last long. But since I was more the business side of things, I had a terrible time learning to code. I actually met my wife the first day of work. I saw her, and she knew me as the kid that might have had something wrong with him, because the first month is training, and you're just hammering out code and trying to code, and these people are blowing me out of the water.
So you came from econ and biz to coding to
jumping in. They throw you through the first 6 months at Accenture is just grinding out, learn how to code in different languages, learning a lot of stuff. All that was easy for them. It was hard for me. So I was the guy, I would put earplugs in just to get in the zone.
Yeah,
and I'm struggling for my life trying to go through all these exercises.
Yeah.
These other people are breezing through with it, and my wife said I was known as I was the one who always had earplugs in, who was a little off.
You were a little special.
Yes.
They weren't sure. They weren't sure about you, the new guy.
It ended up, when you look through it, what I ended up doing, consulting at all these different companies, I quickly learned that you don't have to learn how to code. You don't have to know how to code. When I was at Depot, we had 1,500 coders in India that would code all night, and then we had about 1,500 IT people in the store support center headquarters here in Atlanta. There were plenty of coders, and they would turn it over to more coders at night. The difficulty was you got 3 buildings at headquarters. One of them was where the CEO sat. One of them was IT, and I was basically the conduit between the two. I would talk to the business, the store, what are their problems. I would develop that into what can we do in the next year, what strategically are the best things to do. And then I could relay that to you shouldn't say nerds, but a lot of times they like being called nerds.
I get it.
Our hardcore IT guys, they don't want to talk to the business side a lot. They will, but they don't want to. But anyways, my time at Vanderbilt and the degrees I got there were more conducive to being able to be that interactive layer between the business and IT, and design it and make it come out the way they wanted it to. So I've loved it, and that's what I continue to do now. It's like I'm a consultant still. I look at what are the strategic problems we're trying to do between now and 2030, backtrack into the ones and prioritize them, and then they stick me on it, and I try and put together the teams to do them.
Okay.
So it's I've been doing almost the exact same thing since '94 when all this started.
Wow.
It's just consulting in different ways, usually with an IT spin on it, because a lot of what we're trying to always do at my work is be the number one in innovation. We want to be the most impressive in terms of technology, if that's in terms of security, crowd movement, food, logistics, whatever it is to make a show run, or sound, lighting, everything, ticketing, sales, everything around the entire customer experience. We just target what are the weak points, and I go after them.
And so really what you're saying is that instead of being more of an econ guy or a business admin guy, you're a communicator. and you're a people person.
Yes.
You can bring people together, and whether they speak the same language or different language, you can bring people together and get them to get on the same team to be able to solve problems that need to be able to solve so we can win.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I learned that pretty quickly too, is you can't do all the work, but if you can get 50 or 100 or 1,000 people wanting to do the work that needs to be done, problem solved. But But when I first started out, I paid my way through Vanderbilt. I had a landscaping company, and I was just mowing yards. I'm like, how many yards can I mow?
I love it.
I hired all my friends, and I'm like, I got to mow as many yards as I can. And as I was starting to get closer to when I was actually interviewing with Accenture, they're like, why do you want to work here? You're making more than twice as much money landscaping as you will here. And I'm like, all that was a pathway to get to this. I thought about, like, should I expand this landscaping company into something bigger? My landscaping company was kind of a gimmick. We targeted high-end houses, and our gimmick was we're hardworking kids paying for college. And the people, we didn't charge cheap prices. Nothing was cheap about it. But they're like, you're just like me. I worked my way, and you're a hard worker. They pay.
Okay.
So I didn't want to become who I was competing against, who are the real professional landscapers,
Right.
who were 40 and 50 years old. I wanted to get out. I accomplished what I wanted to do, which was pay for school, and then I wanted to get out. But I had to explain that in my interview why I was making big money in the landscaping. As it in its final years, it expanded because I hired all my friends. But my goal was never. I didn't want to be a landscaper.
That wasn't your aim. You didn't want to be cutting grass for the rest of your life.
I liked doing it when I was doing it, but it was a mission. Just I had to pay. I had to pay for.
So what'd you do with the landscaping? Did you just dissolve it, or
I
did you
sold it to a friend of mine who desperately needed it. His girlfriend, I knew her in high school. Mm-hmm. She used to always lay out how she wanted like either 6 or 7 kids. She wanted 2 golden retrievers, named this and that. I could tell she was a lady that's going to need a lot of money.
Right.
And this guy already had a landscaping company. I handed the whole thing over to him and said, good luck. And he's still with her to this day.
6 kids and 2 golden retrievers. She was, he needed that landscaping company.
I helped him out.
Purring like a kitten. I love it. So, she had a career path plan kind of like you had one, just in different directions.
Yes. She didn't know how she was going to get it, but that landscaping extra, I think, about doubled his business when I handed him that.
Well, that's good stuff. Good stuff. So, you're in your career path. Like I said, it kind of reads like a who's who of the Fortune 500 companies, working for all these great organizations. Some of the largest companies on the planet. Have you noticed anything intrinsically that is similar within these organizations, within these companies, that has enabled them to scale and to flourish and to grow the way that they've grown?
I would have to say it's the main thing that I've taken from Home Depot into my new role. It wasn't my title when I came in, but I've come to embody and try and hog the customer experience title. Like I think I went to HR one time and said, I should get a title. I should be VP of customer experience. And they're like, well, you're in charge of technology and innovation and business intelligence. I'm like, yeah, but it's all related to customer experience.
Right.
Home Depot ingrained that into me. That was we lived and died by surveys going out to customers. It was the voice of the customer was the name of the score. And if your store was doing well and selling better than other stores, had a good margin, your operating costs were low, didn't matter if your voice of the customer score was bad. So it's actually why I'm going out to this company in May. I'm going out to speak at the Qualtrics conference in Salt Lake.
Right.
Qualtrics is a customer experience company. I use them in my work to survey customers, get their feedback. And we basically try and drive everything we do off of that. And anytime you think you're doing okay, you can always kind of siphon through what everybody's saying. What are your trends over the past few years? Where are your strengths? You got to keep them high, and you can always target a few areas. Like does the food always have to be bad, or can we we do something about it?
Yeah. What a great response, because most people, being a self-employed entrepreneur. Hey everybody, I wanted to invite you to, if at any time you wanted to shop your health or life insurance rates, to reach out to us through the description section below where it says redtailorinsurance.com. Click that link. My team of experts will go to work for you for free, so you have nothing to lose. We're going to search the market where we have hundreds and hundreds of different companies, different plans, to see if we can help. If we can't, we're going to advise you to stay right where you are, and if things ever change, to reach back out to us at that time, and we'll go to work then. Okay, so thanks a million, and enjoy the show. My mind is grow, produce, scale. And, that's what, in this stage of my career, I'm so focused on that. And that's led me to start this podcast here and have the opportunity to speak with, amazing folks like you. But what has always enabled me to be successful in what I preach to my sales team and my staff is constantly, it's about the customer. It's always about the customer journey. It's always about the customer experience. Always doing right by the customer. If Zig Ziglar, and I'm corny like this, man. I believe in guys like that because they were so right. Zig Ziglar, and I learned this, when I was a young man. I remember he said one time, if you want to be successful in life, if you want to go and make more sales than anybody else and make all the money in the world, instead of being a go-getter, learn to be a go-giver.
Well, it's true. It's funny. I've never heard that question asked about what did some of these companies have in common. When I first stepped foot,
success leaves clues, right?
Well,
success leaves clues.
But I've never thought about that. But until when I came to my current job, I would always be talking about customer experience, and I had to temper what I was saying because I kept using a couple companies as examples. I'm like, we need to be like Chick-fil-A. We need to be like Disney at the time was a big customer experience company. But I felt I had to be careful because I was coming into a state agency that they also kind of brought me in to bring a private sector for-profit mentality to things. I had to be careful that what I was saying was not insulting.
Yeah.
Like, if we're not Chick-fil-A, I had to be careful when I'm talking like we don't need Taco Bell and Long John Silver's service. We need Chick-fil-A service. Had to make sure that I'm not offending people,
stepping on toes
while pushing it.
Yeah.
But when you look at some of the main places that I worked at, Delta was one, Home Depot was another, Kimberly-Clark. It's funny you don't think of them as being big customer service, but I remember they had a whole department handling. If someone called in and said they had a rough piece of sawdust in their toilet paper, there was a lady sending them a case of toilet paper.
Really?
They did it too, but everything, and used to, it was, people would say customer service. And to me, customer service is one interaction. Like, I don't know, when I got my food, that was, you were nice, you said hi, and that was customer service. Yeah. But the customer experience, and especially in my business now, can go on for days. It's a series of maybe 200 interactions that starts, and this is why we employ the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau. Mm-hmm. A lot of people running conventions and bringing this engine of money to Georgia and Atlanta.
Right.
We're trying to fill downtown, the hotels, fill the restaurants, fill the airport with business people coming to spend money. Their journey starts when they land at the airport. So we're working in conjunction with the airport. We're putting up welcome banners for them. When they get into the hotel district, they've got the ambassador force out there rolling around on Segways, keeping them safe, making them not be afraid. Like, oh, we heard Atlanta was scary. No, we're going to keep you safe.
Right.
All the way into our parking decks, into the building, the food, the bathrooms. I actually put a system in all of our bathrooms throughout the whole 4 million square feet of Georgia World Congress Center called Feedback Now. It's those little smiley faces, red, green, and yellow smiley faces. So it's counting the people coming in the restrooms. It's counting the feedback that they're giving. It's counting when a housekeeper comes in. And I've got a big dashboard for like 150 bathrooms that's given where they should be, or there's a tolerance on each one.
Unreal.
When 150 people have come through this bathroom, but a housekeeper hasn't checked in, I already know it's going to be going bad. So we start alerting people. But I tell our employees all the time, they'll say, well, what are the surveys saying? I'm like, which survey? We got surveys going out to planners, exhibitors, attendees, and the building itself is being surveyed. The building is talking to us. Every bathroom is talking to us all
That's
day long,
amazing.
telling us exactly where the people are in the building.
Systems.
If they're happy, if it's good, if it's bad. I don't know. It's wild, but Depot kind of ingrained that in me is if you don't take care of the customer, because it's funny you mentioned growing the business too. When I got to Depot, it was all about growing the stores. We went from 100, and then for a while we were putting in 200 stores a year till we got to around 2,000. It stalled out. The country was covered. Any additional store would cannibalize sales for an adjacent store. So in the past 10 years, they haven't really opened any new stores. They'll close an old one. They might open 1 or 2 a year. But the focus then became on, can we increase customer service? Can we watch our operating costs? And my current job is like this too. We have a campus. We can't really make our building too much bigger.
Right.
So we got to manage how the building is working better. What's the mix of shows that we're bringing in? Maximizing the people, the shows in the building, but leaving enough time for downtime for the staff to do all the maintenance, redo the roof, all those different things. Sure. It's been a balance, and can't just grow forever. Now we're in the more painful phase of keeping the cost down, getting the profit up, which is, it's hard to get the profit up because customers, they don't like hearing, rent's going up, electrical costs is going up.
That doesn't resonate with them.
No.
Yeah.
We got a good sales team. They try and do that.
So let's expound on that just a little bit, because we're talking about some of the largest, infrastructure, in America, when you're talking about the Georgia World Congress Center.
It's a full city.
Yeah, it's a city within itself. You're talking about Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Centennial Olympic Park, the College Football Hall of Fame. Let's talk about the amount of people, just the sheer volume of people, and tell us a little bit about how that works. How do you move people movement? How do you protect those people? How do you make sure that everything is operating seamlessly, and that customers consumers, customers, because there's both sides, are having a good experience, a good journey.
So what do we do with all these people? And the amount of people is immense. We have our current staff. We have partners. So we have Levy Food Services. We've got a ton of people from there. We've got sometimes private security, and we have our own internal police force. We're the only convention center with its own police force.
So the Georgia World Congress Center, Convention Center, has its own police force.
Yep.
Wow.
And you'll see the cars down there, GWCCA police on the side.
That's the authority part, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
It's funny. Tomorrow I've got a all day exercise. I'm a big proponent. I'm not a police officer, but I'm a big supporter of them. And
we back the blue. Red Hot Reed, we back the blue. We love you guys.
So in the strategic vision for 2030, the number one thing is safety and security. Like our convention goers, for them to keep booking in Atlanta, I always say we can't afford to we can't have a bad news story. Like some of the stuff that's happening in California, it's affecting them. Detroit and Chicago, a couple of those.
Right.
Sometimes even New Orleans feels it. We can't become the crime narrative. We can't have that. So we're fighting to keep the convention people safe. So a lot of what we do goes into that. That's why we have our own police force, the only one that does. Pushing safety to our convention goers, working with our police. I'm always trying to, the technology that we've got a camera system called a Vigilon, like over 1,000 cameras strung together, where you can track somebody from one end of the building to the other. If something is stolen, if there's a person that you're looking out for that you don't want in the building, you could find them.
Really?
But what that does is we show that to our clients, and to kind of ease their mind, because they're always looking at, we're looking at Orlando, San Diego, Vegas, or Atlanta. And one person will be like, well, I saw a bad news story about Atlanta, and they'll get afraid of it.
Sure.
So that's one thing.
This is how we can keep you safe and ensure that you guys are going to have the maximum level of security there is.
So this is where I got thrown off, what I was trying to remember. So tomorrow we've got a thing called the CERT team, the Civilian Emergency Response Team.
Okay.
And I just got certified along with several other people. So we're trying to have as many people on our staff that aren't police CERT certified. So you're trained in disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes,
Really? Okay. Wow.
mass shootings, all of this stuff, CPR, getting people out of buildings, putting out fires, basically to be a backup to the police. But we're having a massive all-day exercise tomorrow where I'm supposed to. I've got a big show, huge show we have is coming in at 3:00, and I've got to present to them. But I've got 1 hour to get all the fake blood clothes off of me. Where we're going to be, they're like, we're going to try and freak you out,
From the
Mark.
training to turn it back to being a professional presentation.
We're going to have fake injured people that you're going to have to put tourniquets on, and they're going to resist you and cuss at you, and you're going to have to carry them around and do all the stuff that you've been trained on for the past 6 months in this program. This is the live exercise in front of the police where you have to show out.
Okay.
So they said, bring different clothes because you're going to get fake blood on you.
Yeah.
Because they want to freak us out a little bit.
It's training. It's real. They want to make it as real as possible, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The shock value is what's going to ingrain that, that training inside you. And so with all those people, I would imagine that you guys have, some terror risk and some real danger down there as a risk factor, right?
Yeah. Like one of my biggest nightmares is like the Ariana Grande bombing at the Manchester Stadium. So we have our own bomb dogs.
Yeah.
For Super Bowl, we enlisted like 60 different bomb dogs from around the country.
Wow.
Came. Where we're having the exercise tomorrow, I actually set up an RV. Myself and one of our IT partners had RVs where we had a crew on site to kind of make sure the fiber, we were responsible for the fiber running the broadcast of the Super Bowl for the world. If that went down for any reason, can you imagine the lawsuit we would have?
Oh my gosh.
Let's say the transmission goes down for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
People that lost their commercial they paid for or whatever. We would never get the Super Bowl again.
Dude, I was listening to a podcast this morning and they were talking about the Super Bowl halftime show and how for instance, Rihanna, the performers, Snoop, Usher, they don't get paid to do that. They pay the money to go do that halftime performance. Now, and paying that money and making that investment, I think one of the folks said that Usher's sales were going to go higher this year than they did on his highest selling album, Confessions ever. So that's how valuable from a financial perspective and economical perspective that airtime is. So if that were to go down, that would be absolutely devastating.
Well, I'd forgotten about Usher until he came out. Now he is top of mind.
Yeah.
But safety is always the biggest thing. We train for it. Like we're not just going to pretend that there is no terrorism. Our police force is training for it.
You're on it.
I'm training for it tomorrow just to be
That's cool.
extra hands helper.
Yeah.
But man, it is fun getting a little insight into some of the things that they go through. Like for Super Bowl, for instance, they call that a tier 1 like national security event.
Okay.
So they bring in Homeland Security comes in, FBI comes in, everyone comes to help with that. Like our whole campus was basically fenced off, roped off. It was
covered.
It was amazing. We came this close to landing, I think, the Democratic National Convention for this year. We lost it to some other city, but they were like, that's going to be even worse than the Super Bowl in terms of security.
Wow, yeah.
The week before I started at my job, we landed the NRA National Convention. And so I came down for it anyways, just to check it out. But that one was top security because, in Georgia, in I think at the time in a state building, you could bring guns. So at the NRA convention, everyone was allowed to bring their guns. It went really smooth.
Security nightmare. Can you even think? Oh,
it was nuts. Well, the funny thing is Trump was there.
Yeah.
If you paid, I think if you were like 100,000 or more donor, you got to go to this private party, and it was Trump. It was called I think it was like cigars and whiskey, and it was Hank Jr. was the headliner, and Trump was coming.
That's hilarious.
And the building was so. Sometimes we have Trump. Sometimes we have the Democratic National Convention.
Apolitical. Oh
yeah.
Which is the way it should be.
Sometimes Amazon comes and we take down all the restroom signs. We take all the men and women signs off, and we put the
non-binary.
It's kind
stuff.
of like everybody. It's a free for all.
Wow.
Everyone allowed in every bathroom.
Wow. I will have to say that I'm not necessarily in approval of that here at the Red Hot Read Show. I do believe that there are two genders, and men should go to the men's restroom, and women need to go to the women's restroom.
So, and that was for my restroom system. It throws that off because normally for a convention, I have stats on past shows. I'm like, well, for this show, it's normally about 82% men, this percent women, because I've got counters counting everybody in there. So we staff the male and female staff attendants. When Amazon comes, we don't really know what to do because the poor housekeepers are used to having one gender in there. For Amazon, it's just it's wild. But
that's a different deal for sure.
That's kind of out of the norm. We don't always do that.
So I told everybody you're the most interesting man alive, and so I got to hear this. You work for Halliburton, and we all know guys like me. I'm 51 years old, so guys that are my age and older, we remember the name Halliburton, and we associate it with a guy named Dick Cheney, who just so happened to be the Vice President of the United States under George W. Bush. And I was wondering, did you ever have any interaction with Dick Cheney, Vice President Dick Cheney?
Yes, so I got pulled straight over to Halliburton, where he was. I walk in and there's big paintings of Dick Cheney on the wall, and this guy, just watch out for him. He's a hard ass, and I guess I was a little too outspoken in the meeting. This would have been like 97, 98, so I was about 26 years old.
Yeah.
And he keyed in on me and just started grilling me. He's like, well,
Cheney?
how long until you do this? Yeah. And when at that point, we're not friends, but he knows who I am because I actually gave him some answers rather than,
you're just in the room.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm presenting, and he got a hint that I was excited about the project. And instead of being one of the higher ups that would tell him, whoa, we got to think about that. It might take 6 months. We need another $10 million. I was like, yeah, we'll start on it tomorrow. And I became his kind of go-to grunt, which was I got in trouble for. They were like, don't talk to Dick Cheney. You be quiet in the meeting. You present. I'm like, well, he wanted to talk to me. I want to help. But it's funny. I've got a habit of doing that. It doesn't always turn out as good as that one did. I think I was telling you earlier, I did this to Ted Turner. We were talking about Macaulay School. Ted Turner went to Macaulay and was quite a little troublemaker there. And he came back my senior year.
That.
Well, he comes back to give some type of speech at the end of the year. And he gave $25 million to the school. The school is it's really incredible. He gets to give
all the speeches he wants for $25 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gave $25 million. He's given his speech, and I didn't know a ton about Ted Turner other than stories from when he was at the school causing trouble. And he's going on and on about population control, about how you shouldn't use air conditioning, you should have the smallest engine car, you should conserve energy. And it was question and answer time, and I said, Ted Turner, so you live in Atlanta, it's super hot, you're telling me you don't have an air conditioner in your house, and you're telling me you don't drive like a V12 Mercedes? And the dude turned red, and he went off.
No way.
And he was right.
You're in high school, spoken like a
I was 18.
Cocky, know-it-all high school kid. Yeah.
I'm just like, so you're telling us all to get small engine cars? And he's like, for your information, my place in Atlanta is cooled by a swamp cooler. I didn't know what a swamp cooler was at the time, but it's a weird way to cool your house using a bunch of water.
Okay.
And, some people in Florida do it. And he goes, I designed my entire house to use very little electricity, especially cooling. And my car is sitting outside. I custom ordered it from Ford. It's a Ford Taurus with the smallest engine. Most of them come with a V6. I have a 4-cylinder Ford Taurus. So he's kind of like, screw you, little
he's
little
giving
buddy.
you the business in front of everybody. I bet you felt.
And I didn't expect that he was gonna. I thought I had him. I'm like, I know this guy has a fat, expensive limo.
You just know it.
And not Ted Turner. He
flew up there on his private plane.
No, he's kind of he was legit.
So with that, you're going. Let's go all the way to the other side of this thing. You're going out to speak at the convention here in Salt Lake in a few weeks, and I think there's another little known personality that's going to be speaking there. One Miss Michelle Obama. So
yes.
You're going to be speaking in front, before, or after?
She's first.
The former first lady.
So this is how Qualtrics always goes. The last time was Obama and Oprah. Actually, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But those people are basically just exciting they're there to talk about. They're there to make everyone get there at 8 a.m. for the big
grabbers.
session.
Yeah.
And get them all out of their hotels to the place. And then where they actually hear about the product or how you implement Qualtrics in a business for to manage customer experience, that's when I have to talk. But it's just all a trick. It's kind of like if you're going to buy a timeshare, you got to listen to the guy for an hour, then you get the prize. This is the opposite. You get the good entertainment speakers, and then you get to listen about.
They're hoping enough of them stay to listen to the actual presentation.
And this is how every convention is. Like, I'm in the convention business here. It's bands, comedians. Nick Saban was at the building the other day, but everyone wants to hear about what Nick Saban has to say. But it's just a fun entertainment to make the convention about supply chain more interesting.
Right. So. Yeah, that's to get people there to listen to it, to attend. So I want to switch gears because, I mentioned earlier that I've admired you for many years for your family. And, you and Rachel have done what I feel like is a phenomenal job of having one of those families that everybody looks at that knows you and says, man, those guys are truly happy. They're truly passionate about each other. They're, I think you don't know this, but it made a massive impact on me probably 10, 12 years ago. One day, you and I were hanging out at the ballpark, and Rachel called you, and I had just happened to look over and see your caller ID for her, and it had her name as Honey Bunny.
Oh, it's still on there.
Yeah.
She calls
That's
every
awesome.
day.
That's awesome. Now, how many people do you know that have their spouse's lovey nickname on their cell phone as their caller ID? And that's what I'm talking about. And so, and you look at Mags and Mabe, and they're both, graduating Georgia right now. Mabe seems to be heavily involved in ministry.
Yeah.
And Mags is got him a job already, about to move out to Dallas and go into corporate insurance. And if I had to guess and put $100 on it right now, he's going to be highly successful.
Oh, he's going to do good.
Yep. And so what I first and foremost, I commend you on that, brother, because that to me is, and I know it to you, is probably life's one of your
my number
greatest accomplishments, your number one priority, and you've placed so much emphasis on it. And what I want to hear today is tell us what do you believe? What are your beliefs? What are your practices? What as the leader of the family? Because in order to have these types of families, somebody has to lead them. And you've explained to us how you're in leadership. You're a natural leader. You've taken to all of these companies and all of these positions and all these people, and you've automatically sprung into leadership. So I know automatically that you're the leader of your family, and you're obviously a leader worth following. So tell us how you do it. What is it? And where does it come from? Is it just an innate desire of yours? Is it from your parents? Is it something, because so many people right now, I feel like, are just struggling with life. Yeah. I mean, and you look at us, we live in a world in America where we have 50% of marriages end in divorce. Mm-hmm. I'm a part of that statistic. I've got a failed marriage. And it's something I'm not proud of, but I'm a part of the statistic. And then, on top of that, we look at so many families that are still married, the other 50%, how many of them are really happy? Yeah. How many couples do you know that are truly happy? How many couples do I know that are truly happy that we like to go spend our time around, right? Yeah. And so one of the things that I think is so important for young people, especially young couples, if you want to have a successful marriage, you want to have successful relationships, find people like the Koenigers that have successful relationships and attach yourself to them. Get around them. Spend time around them. Look and see what they're doing. Ask them the questions. What steps did you take to find health, joy, happiness, fulfillment? All those things that are so important that not enough people are placing maximum value on right now.
Well, that is basically where you got to put the maximum effort. And it's funny. Sometimes people will say, well, you're so lucky your kid was behaved or did this or that. I've worked 5 times harder on the family than ever in work. Like it's work is here, and family is always is always way up high.
Man.
And I think that's maybe when they see that, or maybe just time spent. People always tell you not to be like your kid's friend, but like with my son, we're best friends.
Yeah.
Can't do anything about it. And we like the same things. It's funny, it popped up on my Facebook 13 years ago. He's got boxing gloves and he's banging on the boxing thing. I'm so happy now he's doing that on his own. He's joined a expensive gym he's paying for in Athens, boxing just under the professional level, just because he got excited about it. And I never wanted him to be a boxer. I just wanted him to be a strong person who, when there's 6 dudes sitting around and someone's picking on one of them, that they probably will stop it, because I wanted him to have the capabilities to sort of project like gentle strength.
Well, he's that guy. He's not going to allow. Mags is a person, and I think that something that I'm proud of my boy as well, and their friends, Mags and Grayson, are. It's kind of like us, we said that we hadn't seen each other, hadn't really gotten together in so long, and here we are today, and we pick right back up.
Exact same.
There's a bond that's created among people who spend a little time together and who have these kindred spirits. Your heart is like my heart, and our minds are, in similar places, and so we have a mutual respect and adoration for each other. Mags and Grayson played on the same teams for a few years together, so those guys see each other, bam, they're right back. But Mags is the type of person, probably much like his father and maybe more like his mother, that is going to protect the weak.
Yeah,
no question.
And I get told all the time by Rachel that Mabry is not as easy to deal with. Mag's easygoing, and Rachel tells me all the time, Mag is me, Mag is her, and Mabry is me. She's strong-willed. She's more hard-headed. And it's funny, you talk about some people ask me, how did Mabry get in? Right now, she's the director of guest services at Athens Church. And I think that's coming to an end here. Her contract ends sometime in the next couple months. And she's wanting to do something else with her degree, but most likely in churches. And people are like, how did Mabry get so into church? It's like, did you take her to church every day? I'm like, not as much. I went to church every day from when I was born until I was 18. I went to a religious high school.
Right.
And I was kind of over it to some degree. I'd had plenty of it. My wife, weird story, her mother and father were a nun and a priest.
What?
Off in Peruvian mountains. They were a nun and a priest. They were both troublemakers too. They met and they were like, we need to be living like the indigenous people. We don't need to be spending all this money on fancy buildings. And they were troublemakers. They met, basically fell in love, had to be removed from the Catholic Church, came back to the United States. They were married within 90 days of meeting each other and had Rachel. So they weren't real into raising Rachel with real strict church doctrines, but they would raise her in the principles. So she caught a fever later in life, wanting to know all about church and religion.
Sure.
So I got kind of brought back into it. I was like, I had enough church, but then she wants me back in there. And this happens a lot, where you'll see a lot of times it is the wife that they shouldn't be responsible for it, but they're the ones that, and there's jokes about it, but they get you in there and they make you go. And I guess she got us to go enough that it planted some seeds in Mabry, and now it's her life's work. She goes on mission trips all the time.
Wow, that's phenomenal. But what you said though is that your wife Rachel led you and the family back into church, into the spiritual awakening. More maybe not that it wasn't there to begin with, but you had the wisdom and discernment to follow your wife at that time.
Oh yeah,
and to go with her, where so many of us men are, honey, I'm going to play golf. I'm going fishing. I'm going to do. I got yard work on Sunday morning.
I got
the ball game coming on at 12 o'clock. The Falcons play. They started whatever. Yeah. So y'all come back. I'll catch it on. I'll catch it online.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I mean? Something along those lines. And that throws, wedges in those relationships. And so and so as an example to other men is, maybe one of those things that we should do a little bit more is maybe pray for wisdom and discernment so that we know when to heed the calling to follow our wives.
Yeah.
Well,
it's funny when you're talking about what have I done with the family
yeah.
to make X, Y, or Z happen. A lot of it falls back on Rachel, and I actually a buddy of mine told me this way back when I first met my wife. I met her and I fell for her real quick, and we got married when I was only 24. And a lot of my friends were like, "What are you doing, dude?" And I was like, "You don't understand. This is special thing going on here."
Yeah.
90% of the credit to Rachel, because I got kind of lucky with a person. I have a certain personality. Mm-hmm. Me and my daughter, we both have it.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest one. It takes a special person to deal with it. And then we got my wife and Magnus, who are basically the exact same. They
Easy.
roll with anything.
Easy.
They don't get upset or flustered.
Yep.
They don't start arguments. And I'm glad I went with what I wanted to do. And I've watched so many people. I'm like, if you would have known, you gotta pick the person that's compatible with you like that, because it's made everything so much easier. And
Yeah.
I don't know how.
One thing about Rachel that I know is that I've never seen her ever without a smile on her face.
No, you won't.
I have never seen Rachel without joy, what appears to be joy in her heart, and outwardly pleasant disposition that people are just drawn to. And, that's another thing that you guys have been blessed with is your family has beauty. You're all pretty people. So, and your health, and, I think that it's very obvious that you guys, your health is very important to you. I noticed that over the past few years, you took a really strong turn into placing your health as an important factor in your life.
That's why I keep my old badge.
Oh, this guy.
When I was up around 250.
Oh, 250.
Yeah, I cut it down.
You should have renamed him just 250.
I keep it so I can show people sometimes, because like right now I'm back about 20 over my peak fitness that I got to.
Right.
So I'm having to dial it back down, but I never. They're always like, "Mark, why do you keep that old pumpkin headed looking picture of yours?" I'm like, "Cause it's a reminder I got to not get that big again."
Yeah. So tell us, because I know so many people have such a struggle with their health. I mean, we live in a country with so many folks that are just overweight and obese, and nobody has time to go to the gym, nobody has time to work out, nobody has time to lift weights. And so from a man who has an absolutely demanding career at work, who has hobbies that take time, and never see you when you're not outside, either in the woods, chopping wood, chasing bears, shooting a gun, riding a mountain bike, or down at the beach.
Yeah.
How do you have time? What did you do? And I'm looking, one of the things that I hope that we're able to give people and add value to people is actionable items. What a lot of folks, we sit here and we talk about things, but I want actionable items that people can take and say, well, Red and Mark talked about, if I did this or this or this, then I could achieve these goals. So actionable items, and I can, this is my show, so I get to ask you, what were the actionable items that you took to become more healthy and to place that as a high priority in your life?
That's easy. And this is probably where me and my son really bonded together. Like I have a real tight bond with my dad because I feel like I saved my dad one time. He was on dialysis and needed a kidney, so I gave him a kidney.
Wow.
And that kept him going for about another
Hold on a
9
second.
years.
Hold on a second. You can't just glaze over that.
Oh, you know that?
Yes, I did. But
Oh,
you can't glaze over that. Okay. You made, almost, you were willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. You gave your father one of your kidneys.
Well, it was crazy because my wife was pregnant with Magnus, and she had little Mabry.
Yeah.
And they were making me sign all this stuff saying, you have a 1 in 5,000 chance of dying or greater. You're doing this of your own will. You're not being paid to do it. blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes. And she's sitting there with a big pregnant belly and
Yeah.
another baby. And people asked her, like, why did you let him do that? And it was because her dad was real fit. All of a sudden, his stomach got like a beer belly, and they made fun of him for a couple months about his big beer belly. Well, it was his spleen filled with white blood cells. He had leukemia. They said, you got leukemia, and he was dead in 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
And right before he died, they were in the process of doing a bone marrow transplant out of Rachel to the dad. They never got it done. So she's like, I had a chance to save my dad. It didn't work, but you have a chance, so do it.
And so she's pregnant with a newborn.
She had a pregnant stomach.
Okay.
And they
she's
made
got
a sign.
She's got an infant baby in her lap. Okay. And a young husband that's about to risk it all. And she's like, do it.
Yeah, she said do it.
That's phenomenal.
And that was that would have been right around like 2001. So I had the chance to. I felt like I could do something for my dad, and I did it. Well, Mag comes along. It was 3 years ago. I guess it's 3.5 years ago now for New Year's. He had this company actually came to our convention center and did a. I think we booked him for like 5 years. A company named Optavia, and his gym buddy got him to be a coach in it. And he's like, Dad, I want to make money. I want to do this thing. I want to kind of train people. And I'm like, this sounds stupid. And he goes, well, I want you to be my first client. He goes, we're going to get you shredded. And I'm like, I'm a businessman. I don't need to be, there's nothing shredded about me. I don't have time to be shredded. I don't have a reason to be shredded. That's not my goal. And he's like, if you're my first client, that'll just get me going. And you can be kind of like an advertisement for how this works. And I'm like, fine. So I start on January 1st at like 250 pounds. He drops me to 200 pounds quickly.
Yeah.
Like real quick. And then I stayed at 200 until about 10 months ago. And I started getting off of it a little bit. But,
Right.
But it's fun. It's cool. Once you drop down to your goal weight, then you just kind of follow the program, which is, it's not all that crazy. It's just, you eat like six meals a day. 2 to 3 of them are bigger meals. 2 to 3 of them are little snacks, like small snacks. You're drinking a lot of water. The big thing is once you lose the weight, that should be the temporary thing. Then you start working on all these aspects of your health: hydration, sleep, your friends, your finances. The goal is to keep fixing small parts of your life so that you can take it when there's always a funeral. Like people are like, well, I was doing good, and then my dad died.
Yeah.
And that happened to me. I quit riding my bike and put on 30 pounds when my dad died. So a lot of it is getting your mind ready for being able to having a program where you can withstand like the waves of life.
Yeah.
And then incorporating, like, you can't just not eat a lot. You got to bring activity into your life. So once you lose weight and you start exercising, you start feeling so happy about yourself, it becomes something you do.
Right.
But then I credit my son for saving my life, because when I gave the kidney, they go, well, you're destined, your predisposition to get high cholesterol, maybe have diabetes. You have one kidney, you have to keep in shape. You get diabetes, you're going to burn through your kidney.
You're on a bad track at 250.
And
250.
And I was getting my doctor's like, your triglycerides are 410, your cholesterol is 310. You are snoring because you're too fat. So that was one of the things that really got me tight with my son, because like I felt like
cool. Yeah.
he took me in and got me, and he was so proud of me, and that put a lot of pressure on me to keep it going.
He was showing his dad off all over the place, all over social media. Yeah. If you think about that, that's so uncommon to have a 19, 20-year-old young man who is showing his dad off as his proud
his
proud possession, his star client. And going back to the health thing, health is very important to me. My wife, Stephanie, threw me a 50th birthday party last year when I turned 50. And, it was a surprise party. So I was overwhelmed with gratitude that the folks were there. She just did a phenomenal job. But, one of the commitments that I made, and it was that, in my speech that night, is that, it's my goal and my, intention to live healthy to age 100, and now I think I want to do it to 150. Okay, and hey, what's the oldest person in history is like 128 years old, and that was way back when we didn't have any good biology or technology and science or anything like that. So with what we have today and all of the longevity studies and information that's out there today, why couldn't we live to be 150? But what I have found over the years, and I've been in and out of the gym for my whole life, being a former athlete and all that stuff.
I see the guns.
Yeah, the guns. They're struggling today. But what I found is so much of it is not necessarily for your physical health, but it's for your mental health. Because think about this, everybody, we all know that we need to get in shape. We all know that we need to go and get on the treadmill or go for the walk or do our cardio, or we need to lift weights. And so many of us, so many times we tell ourselves, well, I'm going to go work out today, or I'm going to go get up in the morning at 5 a.m. I'm going to go work out. And then what happens? I don't do it. And I'm going to eat clean. I'm going to eat, my diet's going to be clean. I'm going to cut out the sugar. I'm going to cut out the fats. I'm going to cut out the desserts and the French fries and the mayonnaise and all those things. And then what happens? Putting it in front of our face, we get in a hurry, and now we're running through the drive-thru. We're getting a Coca-Cola and a cheeseburger with fries. And so what I've learned about that is that when we make these promises to ourselves and we don't keep them, that takes our confidence away from us. I mean, there's no way to be a confident, ready, battle-ready human being when you're lying to yourself, when you're not keeping the promises to yourself. And conversely, if you want to be confident and you want to live a life to where you're ready for the battle, you're ready for the test, you're ready for those ups and downs of life, and you make those promises to yourself, keep them. Okay? Get up and go to the gym. Get up, go for the walk, cut out the sugars, cut out the sodas, cut out the dessert, or put yourself in a situation where you work so hard that you earn it, because the work has to be done. I mean, that's it.
Well, you hit it on the head with the confidence thing. It's funny. I had someone make fun of me the other day. You ever get on text threads with like 10 of your buddies?
Oh yeah.
And they like to mess with you. So
100% Raz session. Yeah.
So one of them said something just a couple weeks ago. I sent a picture. I was doing something. And he goes, I didn't recognize you, Mark, without your shirt off. Because so for about 10 months, I've been getting out of shape. But when I was in my peak of fitness, I almost got too much confidence. I didn't want to wear a shirt.
You wanted that shirt off everywhere you went.
I was like, honey, I think I need to mow the grass.
You quit going to the woods, started going to the beach and the pool all the time.
It was crazy because you get extreme. When I was at my most fit, you got extremely confident. I was actually thinking about it the other day. I was like, I have 3 weeks before I got to stand on a stage in front of a whole bunch of people, and I was like, how can I lose like 8 pounds before then? Because you do get so much confidence, especially when you got all those clothes that you bought. I bought some suits. I can't fit into them right this minute, and it's making me mad.
Oh, I'm challenging you right now. You got 8 down.
It drops your confidence
before you get on that stage. Okay, that's mine and your deal today.
I think. Let's see. I've got enough time, but it's funny. Your confidence rolls like a snowball.
Yes,
and gets bigger. And I remember people were like, "How do you have the motivation to go to the gym?" Once you're like in that kind of high, you don't want to lose it. And this is always the catch, and this is why I'm glad to have my son to keep pressure on me.
Yeah,
because he does. Yeah. You lose. I would tell this to people that were trying to get in shape. They're like, why do you have so much motivation? I'm like, well, you don't. Motivation is always waning. You get motivation for a month or two. You might be on fire, but things happen and you don't. So that's why it's good to have people that surround you. So that was one cool thing about that Optavia company.
Right.
Is you would be surrounded by other coaches, clients.
Right.
You had pressure and accountability because
accountability.
You're coaching people. You got all these people that are looking to you, and then I've got my son also putting pressure on me. So if I fail as his showpiece, then
you're letting him down.
Yeah. So when
you don't want to let him down.
Well, you mentioned about surrounding yourself with families that are doing the things that you want to do. Fitness and health is kind of that way too. Like well, they say this. It's similar to drug addicts. Drug addicts, to get off drugs, they have to rid themselves of some of the drug addicts around them.
Yeah, statistically, you send them, they go away to therapy, and I think statistically 75% come out of therapy and they are back on drugs within 90 days. Why? Because they don't change their environment. So you change the environment, you change that thing. So if you go back and look to the point in Vietnam, just take Vietnam for instance. Okay, this is way off topic, but go to Vietnam. So we all know that our soldiers in Vietnam, there was pretty, a lot of them used drugs and hard drugs while they were over there, right? And there's whatever they were doing to cope and get through and survive at that time. But when they came back and left that environment, like over 90% of them did not go back to using hard drugs. So statistically, like we said, change your environment. If you want to be successful in life, get around successful people. You
true.
are the sum of the result of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. You want to be a high net worth guy? Go find high net worth people and spend time around them. You want to have an amazing family? The marriage and children and a life where you like each other and you enjoy spending time with each other and you make each other a priority. And, you put your wife on a pedestal and one of the worst things that you could even fathom is hurting her or letting her down. Get around people like that and it becomes your priority and it grows in importance, and watch what happens to your life. You want to be healthy. You want to be fit. Get around people like that, for me, it's become a non-negotiable. Okay, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna get my cardio in. I'm 51 years old. I've made it in my mind that I'm gonna live to be 100 unless a bus comes and hits me. And I don't know why. I don't know why I got that, because nobody in my family. I come from a family full of heart disease and cancer and diabetes and strokes and all that kind of stuff. So, but something I don't even know where it came from. But that's what's going to happen. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, okay? Unless somebody shoots me and kills me, I'm living to be 100, and I'm going to be healthy all that time, okay? And so that's my non-negotiable with myself. I've got to go and chase that, okay? And if
you hit the nail on the head, though, about putting, when you've got more examples around you pushing you that direction, it's accountability. It makes you where, like, if it's the reason I keep this picture, like, you need a little pressure, because your motivation isn't permanent. It doesn't stay forever and ever.
Yeah.
Like in a perfect line, it goes up and down.
The motivation is inconsistent. So listen, man, it's been such a joy having you today, and I know that our conversation is going to bring so much value to everybody who listens. And one of the things I want to end with off of all this, from someone whose accomplishments are as extraordinary as yours, the happiness, the joy, the fulfillment, the wealth. What advice would you give to your 22-year-old self that's coming out of college, that's entering into the world? Even if you didn't go to college, if you're out there doing a vocation and becoming a welder, if you're in here running the camera crew for the Red Hot Reed show, if you're in sales, what advice would you give the young people out there on how to duplicate a life well lived like yourself?
Oh, yeah. I've thought a lot about this lately, since my son graduates May 24th. It's coming up any day now. And I'm so happy I get to see both of them. They're coming in town for 85th. I don't know if you remember Guy, old grandma.
Yes.
Her 85th birthday.
Never seen. Is it yours?
It's Rachel's mom. Yeah.
Rachel's mother.
She's at every
Never
game.
seen Rachel's mother without a smile on her face.
Yeah. Well, they're graduating. Maybe graduated in December. Mag's graduating, and what I keep telling them, or I keep thinking about their life, what they're about to go into, and I see what they're surrounded with, like a lot of Instagram and people like Jake Paul, or people that they didn't really they didn't really have a career, but then they quickly have a McLaren and a mansion and $100 million.
All of the material success that anybody could ever imagine.
And they get it very quickly.
Yes,
and
yes.
so what I would tell people is, and I've mentioned this to the kids a lot. Like, it's like, Daddy didn't get what he has immediately. He hadn't always, like, right now I'm in a better position than I was back when I was grinding. They missed the grind time.
Sacrifice.
And I want to make sure that they know that the very small microcosm of crazy success they're seeing from some of the young people, that's not the norm. You could, of course, go pursue a little bit of that in your spare time.
Sure.
But you got to put in the groundwork. I think it would be very dissatisfying or very disheartening for all those kids. They're like, to be, I don't know, maybe 25, and they're like, why do I not have a McLaren? Why do I not have a TV show or whatever?
Right.
Like, it's very, it seems the norm, but it's not the norm. But it's pretty easy. I won't say it's pretty easy, but with a kind of a grind mentality, you got to put in some baseline work. But I just feel so much pressure on those kids that they must be putting on themselves, because they have access to see too many crazily successful people that are crazily successful for
It's not real.
Odd reasons.
Yeah, it's not real. That what you're saying kind of reminds me of a couple of things that I learned by reading one of the greatest books ever, which is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. And in here, he kind of almost what you're saying there, he relates it to the farm. Okay, so imagine this: life on the farm. You plant your seeds in the spring, and you till it, and you take care of it, and you work it, and you work it, and you work it, and then you reap your harvest in the fall, right? So there is no way to just boom, blow a crop up and reap it automatically. That doesn't work. It's not real. So, on the farm, which is an amazing microcosm of real life, of what our entire life is, you have to do the work. The work just needs doing. And in order to be successful in life, what we have to do as young people, and really our entire life, okay? Like, I don't understand retirement. I don't see retirement. Like, there's nothing. I'm 51 years old, and I'm telling you right now, I can't picture retirement in my life, okay? But we have to be. I've always tell my children, if you want to be successful in life, you got to be willing to sacrifice what you want, or sacrifice what you want now for what you want the most. So you can't do what you want to do right now all the time, because you have goals of what you want the most. And one of the things that I'll close on this. Another thing that Dr. Stephen Covey said is so true and so important, and it'll give you a visual, is he said, if you want to live a life of success and joy and fulfillment, and a life well lived, begin with the end in mind. Okay? Think about this. When you got in your vehicle to drive here today from downtown Atlanta, you put it in Waze, right? Yeah. Or Google Maps, right? So you began with the end in mind, and so it kept you from making what? Wrong turns. Okay? So imagine if we were able to take our lives when we're young, and we just stopped for some time, and we were able to think and reflect and ponder what does it look like when I'm 60? Young people can't see 60. Vince, can you see 50 years old? You can't see 50, can you? Huh? You can't. But what if you could? What if you could see 60? What if you could see 75? Where do you want to be? What do you want your life to look like? Do you want to be sitting on the front porch with your wife in a rocking chair next to you with a cup of iced tea, with your kids and grandkids out there, and everybody being happy and healthy? Well, if you can begin with that vision in mind, or do you want to be, Donald Trump and be the president, whatever, and taking on the whole establishment and the Department of Justice and slinging, deflecting bullets all over the place, or whatever. Okay. But, those are keys and roadmaps, I believe, to help folks, young and old, to be successful. Because even now, if we wanted to, we could stop and say, well, what do I want the end to be? What do I want the end to look like? And how do I go about doing that? And so, if we could get those ideas and those principles and those visions in our mind, in our life, and in our soul, then man, you automatically take steps to it being and moving towards those ends and those goals.
Well, and last point on that topic, because
Yeah.
I haven't shared this book with many people, but I love the idea of it. It's called the Luck Book. It's green. It's got a shamrock on it, but it is such a cool book. It talks about, so you have these dreams and things you're trying to do. It kind of lays out the philosophy of creating your own luck. It's kind of the process of you get this vision, this long-term vision you're talking about, and then there are things you can do to push your luck in the right directions. Like, how did you ever meet that person? Well, there's a process sometimes to meeting those people. And it's kind of cool. You get the vision, and then you also start on the process of modifying your luck to increase your chances to do those things.
Yeah,
I love it.
No, I love it too. I think it was Einstein that said that every great accomplishment began merely as a thought. So as we think, we go, we believe, we do, we achieve. So, brother, I just want to tell you, man, I appreciate you being here with me so much, man. You're a good man. You got a great family. And I love you guys. I can't wait to watch Mag and Maeve grow and what they do and how they rock the world, man. I know they're going to accomplish great things. So
I'm so glad to have met back up with you after all these years.
Yeah.
Like we said, it seems like I've seen you all the time, but I haven't. I've seen you virtually. But
yeah, that's the good thing about social media, right? Is we can kind of keep up with each other online. And I'd like everybody to know, just do me one big favor, if you would. Great big favor is that, I don't run ads and I don't accept sponsors on this show. And so the only way that it's going to get out there is for people like you to go and share it with someone from wherever you got it on Apple or Spotify. And maybe if you would just give me a rate and review on that. And if you'd share it with somebody, man, it would mean the absolute world to me. And you never know, it could possibly mean the world to someone else. So until next time, I'm Red Taylor from the Red Hot Read Show.